We made it out the storm and moved into the light. In love with life, with the sun shining bright. Doing things right, with good things in sight. Trying to stay strong and hold on with all might. I'm a hip-hop junkie, I'll never be a flunky. All I do is rock on dope beats, it's funky. Living my best life, but I know there's more to come. Used to stare at my shoes, now I'm shining in the sun. With my head held high, admiring blue skies. Had to change my outlook, cause tomorrow I could die. So I pray before bed, and I pray before I rise. Looking for the truth, so I'm not blinded by the lies. Had to cut all ties with my old way of thought. Found out who I am. Found out who I'm not.
Good evening. Welcome to another episode of Now That We Have Recovered. My name is Joe, and I am here today with my friend Anthony. Anthony, would you like to say anything to check in?
What's going on, Joe? Just another wonderful day. Just got off work. Just hit 4 years sober, last month. So everything's great.
That's what's up, man. 4 years, huh? And you're working, man, dude.
Yes, sir.
I'm doing well. It's good to have you on the show. I've known you for a long time, so it's good to see my friends from the past that are doing really well.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a few of them now, dude, and so it's awesome to have you here, dude. Thank you.
Yeah, that support system from way back is growing.
Yeah,
it's
crazy,
back together.
Yeah, I run into people all the time. I'm like, what the hell, dude?
Yeah.
So it's dope, dude, to see that. And
it's a good feeling.
Yeah, I'm glad to have you here tonight again. So I'd like to hear a little bit about your story when you got sober, maybe a few weeks leading into your sobriety or somewhere around that area.
Yeah. So it was about 2017 at the end. I got arrested like 3 times that year. Usually pray over and over, just, Lord, get me out this one time and I'll do better. I learned my lesson. I knew I wasn't going to do better. And that time I just prayed for help that time.
Yeah.
And so, sure enough, the public defender said, hey, I know you were pretty lit on the day you got arrested, and it took a couple days for the cops to even know who you were because you didn't know who you were because you were so out of it. We want to offer you a thing called drug court. It's a very extensive drug program. And it's really hard, but I think you'll do pretty good in it. And I took it, and I had to take a 4.5 year suspended sentence. So I knew if I messed up or got any felonies or got kicked out of that program, that 2 months left that I had to do in jail would have turned into 4.5 years of prison. So I took a big risk, but my prayers, came true, and I was able to get some help finally.
Usually that's a setup for people, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's cool. You made it through. So you took drug court. Did you get it initially, or did it take you a few times before you were able to actually conquer your addiction? Or get started?
I'm not going to lie. When they came up to me and said that, I had about 2 months left of my sentence, and they're like, you're getting out the next day, though. And I was like, all right. So I wanted to get help, but at the same time, I knew I was getting out. So when I got out still living with my mom that was on meth. I was homeless but sleeping on her floor, like not a couch but a floor.
Yeah. With
a sleeping bag. And I knew that it was going to be risky, but I went in there and I gave it my all, and I just I got 6 months one time and then relapsed. And then they kind of put me on a last chance contract, and they said, what can we do to help you? And I said, well, I can't be where I'm at. I'm in Oak Park. This is where I was just homeless for 5 years, sleeping at bus stops and stuff. Like, I'm at my mom's house, which still smokes meth in the room next to me. I can't be there. And so they offered me a 90-day residential program, which at Bridges, which, pretty much saved my life.
Yeah.
And so I went there and eventually got kicked out of there after 2 weeks because somebody snuck heroin in there. And so they put me on a second last chance contract, drug court did, and they said, if you mess up again, you're going to prison. I said, all right. So the rehab, they agreed to let me back if I could drug test back in clean. So a week later, I went back in. They made me the house man. I gave all the responsibilities to the people inside, and, nailed it.
Okay.
I did everything I had to do, and they set me up, put me on the list for Mather after that.
Okay. So you went to the Mather Community Campus. How was that when you got there?
It was amazing. I had 90 days. I had just met with my sponsor. I just met him at the YMCA. I ran into somebody, and I literally asked him if he could be my sponsor.
Yeah.
And it was super weird. It was like God put him there, at the YMCA just for me. And so I got to Mather with a new sponsor, you know, a whole new outlook on life. I was floating on that pink cloud. And I got my first 6 months, you know, at the end of drug court, or at the end of the residential into Mather. I got my first 6 months clean after using for about 18 years.
Okay. Yeah.
And it was a year stint at Mather, but after 6 months, I walked past a room and seen somebody smoking meth, so I relapsed and then did GHB at a downtown concert. And so that kind of sucked, and I had to admit to my sponsor, because I was, even though I had relapsed, I was still wanting to do this. And the next day I called my sponsor crying, and I said, dude, I don't want to die out here.
Yeah.
Like, now that I know the feeling of AA and NA, you like, I want this super bad, and to relapse, you know, being in the program, it's just not the same.
No, it fucks your head up, dude.
Yeah,
Completely,
it's
dude.
not
I get
fun.
it. Yeah. Yeah, dude, I remember, like, after I had gone for a while, I remember, like, coming down one time, and I was in a room with a friend, and I was like, dude, you got to read this. And I pulled out, like, the little NA white book, and I started reading. I was like, this is the realest shit ever. Like, the guy called me the next day. He's like, don't ever do that again. Like, yeah, because you get that head full of, you know, knowledge, and then you know you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
So, apologies, I didn't mean to interrupt. Like,
Oh, no, you're good. No, you're good.
So, how long were you twirling the pipe for? When you relapsed?
On the relapse? So, not that long, 1 day.
Yeah.
And then I had 6 months, relapsed for 1 day, told my sponsor, and then got another 3 months.
Okay.
Relapsed again. And, you know, this time I was getting better, or not getting better, but moving up in the steps at drug court. But once I relapsed that second time, I had to drop back from level 3 to level 2 again, and had to redo level 2. So at that point, I thought I was slick, and somebody else that was in drug court with me, she started using meth, and we started using it. I started going to her room and doing meth, and I was on it for a few weeks, and we kept washing out our pee with, you know, literally buying cases of water and just flushing our systems, and it worked for a few weeks. It really did.
Damn.
Until it didn't. And then until my actual probation officer was like, yeah, this is kind of a fainted line. I was like, well, a fainted line means it's not dirty. And he goes, no, I'm going to send this one in just to see. Yeah. And I was like, it's dirty.
Yeah.
You don't have to send it in. It's dirty. And so, that one scared me, because I was already on the last chance contract. But since I moved up, I was able to stay there. Yeah. And I eventually went to level 4, and then I was at Mather, and at this time at Mather, they had a job fair, and I was working at UPS from like 2004 to 2009, 10 when I went to prison, and then I went down this deep dark hill for about 8 years of homelessness and like hard drugs, and UPS was doing a job fair at Mather. And so I jammed over to the library and I applied. Yeah. And I got the job. And I was like, oh my God, like, really? I got the job? They're like, yeah. And at this same time, about maybe a month before this, my sponsor paid my $2,000 tuition to go to CCAP, which is Substance and Alcohol Abuse Counseling School. Yeah. So I was doing that full time on Saturdays, just because a couple of my counselors, you know, I had to interact with a lot of people, and since I was house man at the rehab, they're like, you know, you're great with the people, you know, giving out responsibilities, you know, you're pretty good with people, you know, and and so that led to one thing, and then next thing you know, I'm working at rehabs, trying to get that 5,000 hours to get my certificate, and then working at UPS at night, and that was rough.
Okay. So you were doing both of them. Did you end up choosing one over the other, or are you still counseling, or are you back at UPS?
So I at the same time I'm working at UPS for about 3 months now, and still going to school and still doing the counseling thing. At this time, I went from DNA Detox, which was across the street from Mather. Now I'm working at Progress House all the way out in Coloma, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hour drive.
Yeah.
And so I'm working graveyard at UPS in the warehouse, and I had to drive out to Progress House and be there by 12 noon.
Yeah.
And so I would get off at 9, sleep for about an hour and a half, and then wake up and then do that, hour and a half drive all the way out to Coloma and work 8 hours there and do the night shift, and then come back and then go back to work at UPS. And so I did that literally as long as I could for about 3 months. And at the same time, I'm going to school for 8 hours on Saturdays.
Yeah.
And we're learning about burnout at this time. And I'm like, burnout's bullshit. Fucking, and I didn't realize it, but my sponsor started to see it. He goes, by this time, I think I had about maybe 10 months to a year clean. He goes, you're substituting. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you're substituting work for drugs. Yeah. Look at yourself. You're burnt out. You can't even stay awake.
Yeah.
I literally, Joe, I had to go buy a 12-inch Kicker L7 subs to stay awake in my car.
Holy smokes. Yeah,
just for that 2-hour trip.
Yeah.
Like, I had to have bass in my car just to stay awake for that drive.
Yeah.
And so we're at a business meeting, and I started nodding out, like I looked like I was on some serious drugs, and I had quite a bit of clean time. And one of the top, I forgot, division guys, asked me a question in a business meeting, and I didn't even know what the question was. I just blurted out no.
No.
In front of everybody. Yeah. And HR came and got me. They're like, are you high? And I'm like, no, I promise you, I'm not high. I'm just extremely tired. And at that time, I was like, I think I'm burnt out. My sponsor says I'm burnt. I'm working all these hours, and the drive here is taking away from my sleep time because it's so far. And by the time that came around, the P-test came in. She P-tested me, and it was clean. She goes, I cannot believe you're doing this. This is a safety hazard. Yeah. You have to pick one or the other. And at that time, I was getting promoted to driver at UPS, and I just didn't know how I was going to do it, work both jobs. Yeah. And so I said, hey, this is my way out. I'm going to pick UPS. Yeah. And thank you for, everything you've done for me. And they're like, we appreciate your honesty. Come back anytime. Yeah. And I stuck with UPS, and a month later, I got promoted.
Okay. That's dope, man. Yeah. Careers change, man. We go up. And sometimes you got to choose, you pick and choose in recovery, dude. And you got to make decisions that are hard, man. Yeah. It sounds like you felt like you made the right choice.
I absolutely feel blessed about it. It's not only making double, but at the same time, like, I gave back to my community. Because you know me, Joe. Like, I hate to say it, but I destroyed a lot of people's lives back then. You know, I sold a lot of drugs to our friends, and at the time, they were young kids, and, we were kids. And some are still addicts today. Some have died, over the years from addiction, and I had to give back to my community. And I did it as long as I could. And it hurts me today. It really does. And but I absolutely did it as best as I could, and I did it till my fucking wheels fell off, and then I had to move on.
Yeah, and you can still do it pro bono too. You know what I mean? When you have time for yourself. What happened to that girl you were twirling the pipe with?
So this girl, towards the end of Mather, I was in a 2-week relapse, my last relapse, and I was about to graduate within like 3 months, and they moved this girl in, Michelle, next door to me, directly next door, to where our rooms connected, but they had the it's like a hotel, but they had them locked because in the middle of the connecting doors was a kitchen. The kitchens didn't work at Mather no more. And so we literally saw each other maybe twice in December of 2019 or 2018, I'm sorry. And I saw her twice, and then January 2nd, we actually hung out for the first time. And I actually tried shooting up for the first time. I felt like I got that out of my system. We hung out for 2 days, and I looked at her. I said, this is serious with drug court. I can't take no more chances. Like, they're really about to send me to prison. I can't do this no more. Like, I'm dead ass serious. And I don't know where your head's at, but I have to think for myself for right now, because I have a kid and all this. And she goes, I want the exact same thing. And I was like, are you sure? And on January 4th, we haven't used since, and we got together at that time and we made a pact, and we just hit 4 years, and now we're married. We adopted my sister's son that passed away. They got hit by a drunk driver last year. Her whole family got killed. My sister, brother-in-law, both of her kids, and my youngest nephew, who's 4, Julian, he survived, and me and Michelle adopted him. And we each have our own. I have my son, AJ, and she has Lily. Lily's, amazing. She's the daughter of Always Wanted. She's a little nasty girl with a bad sense of, bad attitude, but she's amazing. She's me in a lot of ways. She's gross. She's always holding the snakes and lizards, because we have a reptile room and we breed reptiles, and she's the first one to go out there and help me take care of them and name them. And my son doesn't even get near him half the time. But my daughter's my little right-hand woman. She's amazing. And, it's just amazing to be where I'm at, and all I had to do was just not pick up, and call my sponsor every time. And Johnny, I've had him the whole time, and he sponsors my wife also, because girls were real flaky with her, and so he started sponsoring her, and so we still meet up. 4 years later, we're still meeting up every Sunday to read. So a lot of people ask me, they're like, it takes a lot of work to get sober, but what's the work? And I mean, it's not physical work a lot of the times, but everything we just talked about, that's what it took for me to get sober. It took working at rehabs and all that to get sober.
So coming back from being homeless, which is a comeback story from, super proud of you, man. That's a crazy comeback story, from being homeless to, owning your own place and being married and being sober all these years and having a good career and, taking care of your family. Those are all super commendable things.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, dude. What was it like, what was going on in your brain? Like, how did you process? How did you get through new emotions? How did you get through feelings? How did you get through, possibly maybe came out with some mental health stuff, from doing drugs that long? Like, how did you get through that?
So it took, obviously with UPS, I have great benefits, which my wife and all 3 kids or 2 of the 3 kids are covered under. They have great, we have great benefits I see my doctor all the time. One thing we didn't touch on, which a lot of people don't like, is Suboxone. I do take Suboxone, and it's helped save my life, and it's something that keeps my brain from knowing that I can use, even if I wanted to. Even after the obsession and the sick thoughts, kind of went away, but it's still, I take it just as a crutch, kind of, but I'm, tapering off of that. But there was a lot of doctor's visits, a lot of, I actually was able to help myself. I was actually able to get on the right meds, because there was a lot of mental health with depression and anxiety and and now I have the right medication, and I wasn't even taking my meds when I was homeless. And so there's that's gone away, and so so you said something really important I feel like we need to touch on, and that's
medically assisted treatment.
Yeah.
Really big in the community right now. Heavily researched. But there's a lot of people in fellowships that try to say, hey, you're not fucking sober. You're taking, Suboxone. And, the way I look at it is, hey, is somebody going to play with it from time to time? Yeah, there's people, not saying you, but people are going to play with it. People are going to not take it the way it's supposed to be.
Absolutely.
But are there people out there that are able to take Suboxone, live a healthy life, come back from the gutter, get their life back on track, and eventually wing off? And my answer is yes, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of research and a lot of doctors and a lot of people that have approved of this stuff, you know what I mean? It's important for some people to take this medication because opiates affect the receptors differently than a lot of other stuff does, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people need this to get sober. And you'll go into these meetings and people will say you're not fucking sober because you're not taking it. And it's fucking bullshit, right? They have pamphlets in all of those fellowships that are called AA medications or NA medications because people do this shit and they try to play doctor and they're, they're working on cars or they're, waitresses at places or they're digging ditches and it's bullshit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Medical stuff like that should come from a medical professional, advice like that. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I'm more power to you, bro.
Yeah, it honestly irritates the shit out of me because there's some, like you said, there's some meetings that will say, we don't believe in that, and then there's some people that will put swear by it. Even I listen to a lot of podcasts, and even the main one, Joe Rogan. There's people on there telling him that it's exactly like heroin. And I'm like, listening to this, they're like, yeah, it makes you nod out, and the feeling is just like heroin. You smoke it or you take it, and you're literally nodding out. And I'm like, when has that ever happened?
Yeah.
Because I've been taking it for 4 years, and I've never even felt tired on it.
Yeah.
And, I'm able to work a 12-hour day and go home and live a very normal life. And it's just, if anybody was going to abuse anything like that, it would be this guy. Because I've abused every single thing that I could possibly touch.
Yeah.
And hey, I'm at my best self right now.
Yeah.
I've never been more responsible. I've never been more successful than I have right now, this second.
Yeah.
I'm married, a family man. We just bought our own home,
Yeah, and I think you're driving a really good point home. You know what I mean? It does work for a lot of people. I know people that have fucked with it. I remember I had this friend and he was shooting it. We didn't know why he was hanging out in the bathroom so much. You know what I mean? And we found out he was shooting at Suboxone. He was taking 3 times the amount. You know what I mean? And so people can play with it. I don't even know if he was really getting an effect from it. You know what I mean? Because we couldn't tell. You know what I mean? Until we caught him. But
what medication or what substance out there cannot be abused when you think about it?
Tylenol can be abused.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You could abuse anything. There's people that's died on too much Advil or ibuprofen. It's and obviously people like us have to be very careful and under medical supervision when it comes to these types of medications. But if that's why they have you tested out and they see what dose you should be at.
Yeah.
And I still see people. I'm in the Kaiser program, and I had to do extensive groups for the whole first year.
Yeah.
I had to do 2-3 groups a week and talk at them, and even I had the most clean time because I was transferring from having private insurance to Kaiser. So I had to, in order to get Suboxone from Kaiser, I had to restart their program just to get on Suboxone. So I had to do the whole thing with them, even though I already had 2 years sober, a year sober at that time. And so, anything could be abused, and you just got to be careful. You got to know your limits. And, if I could do something different, I would have got on and got off faster. But that's not how God, made it work for me.
Yeah.
And obviously not going to regret it. But it is hard to get off.
Yeah.
It's just as hard as heroin was to get off of it. But as kind of mind altering, nothing. That's a complete myth.
Okay. Do you feel, so you said you had to take outpatient, thank you for sharing that with us. So you said you had to take outpatient groups. Do you feel like those helped you with your recovery, even being at 2 years?
So obviously drug court was so extensive, and they had so many resources. That 10-month program, since I kept relapsing, took me over 2.5 years to graduate.
Yeah.
And so by the time I graduated drug court, I was working at a rehab at Progress House. I was going to school full time and working at UPS. So I was literally doing my counselor's jobs. You know, I was able to sign sheets at the meetings that they mandated us to go to. I was able to go to those meetings, and where I didn't even get to the fact that I was secretary for over a year.
Yeah.
And secretarying 2 days a week and had to find all those people, which was another way that I had to work the program to make sure I didn't relapse.
Yeah.
And I still relapse. But the outpatient programs do work if you're held accountable. And for me, being the drug addict I was that went, you know, fucking rock bottom for here. Most people are here, but I'm fucking underground, you know. I didn't give a shit. I was waiting till the day to die.
Yeah.
That kind of accountability is what it took for me to make outpatient program work.
Yeah.
Now, if I would have just walked into, say, Kaiser without drug court, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because they had so many resources that, you know, I was able to go to 90 days to where I was able to get my feet wet and actually get some clean time. That's how I first got clean time, was there.
Yeah.
And so, and then, you know, Mather was a way to get myself back into society. They were able to, you know, help me work my credit.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started all this, my credit score is a 4 something. It's like 750 now.
Okay.
Like, that's, I mean, I couldn't
That's
even,
a bump, huh?
I couldn't even get a cell phone, you know, without paying a $500 deposit. And now I just got a $500,000 house, you know. It's like, it's just the benefits of recovery, man. And it's beautiful.
So you were, that's awesome, dude. I know my credit jumped through the roof now compared to what it used to be, too.
Yeah.
So being in the meetings, you talked about service. So when you were talking about having to go through and find all those people, so when you have a service commitment, you got to go find other people?
Yeah.
What's that mean?
So I did both. I did, you know, both programs. I think we all know which ones those are. And you could do coffee. You could do anything to help, you know, kind of, especially if you're new to the meeting, you kind of want to get to know them people. And so you could work and make coffee when you get there. You know, you want to do some kind of service commitment. And so I did coffee, and then there was a great meeting called the right, maybe a quarter mile down the street from Mather, and my sponsor's good friend actually opened it. Yeah. And so he was looking for secretaries, and I only had maybe 2-3 months at that. So is after I did that 6-month relapse. Yeah. And so he's like, okay, get clean for a month, and then once you get a month, come secretary. And so I did. And then I secretaried there for about, I think, 8 months. And even when there was like 3 or 4 secretaries there, and a couple quit, and I had to actually take on two secretaries. Finding one person a week is pretty hard for that time. Finding 2 people a week is pretty damn difficult. You know what it is. I mean, it's hard, you know, and not only got to find interesting people that could, you know, talk and get the story out and the message out, but you got to find people that, you know, you trust and aren't going to give the wrong message, and, you know, like, you know, just come off with some off the wall shit, you know, fucking somebody's got a day clean and fucking and they're in the bathroom shooting up right before the secretary. like you gotta trust these people, you know, and trust that they're genuinely trying to help everybody. And that meeting was great, man. I mean, we didn't take it over, but that was our meeting. That was the Mather meeting, and it's still open today, you know? Yeah. It's a great meeting. I've been to so many meetings, and that's the one I grew up in. That was my home group. That was the one I secretaried in, and it was amazing.
I remember you got me working there for a little bit, too.
Yeah. I remember. I had all my old counselors from Bridges share over there for me. And now I got all these people that are in drug court with me coming to the meeting, and I'm signing their slips. And they're like, my counselor's like, you can't do that anymore. I'm like, I'm a counselor. What are you talking about?
So, dude, we're getting close to wrap up time.
Yeah.
Really good, really good. So, is there anything you want to leave to the newcomer? Anything you left out that you want to touch on? Anything, last words?
You know, I kept telling myself this from beginning to end, and it was the first time I told myself, don't give up on yourself. This is... I've never had this feeling a day in my life before this where I actually wanted to get help. You know, we're always in that mindset of we could quit whenever we want to, you know, just one last hit, you know, fucking, I want to do all the fucking stupid bullshit we come up with, you know, to manipulate our own fucking thinking into taking that terrible action. And I just, for once in my life, I just kept telling myself, okay, I fucked up. Let's call my sponsor. Don't give up. Just don't fucking give up on yourself.
Yeah.
And I just kept going with that. And then I just kept telling myself when I wanted to use, fuck today. Maybe I'll get high tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I kept telling myself that every time I had it, because in the first year, dude, I have urges all the fucking time. And I was just like, I'll get high tomorrow. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Not today. Well, I'll get high tomorrow. And I just kept prolonging it.
Yeah.
But yeah, life's amazing, and I wish everybody the best. And this is beyond my wildest dreams. I thought, you know, we all say it, but I really thought I was gonna be dead. Like I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about my kids. I didn't care about anything. All I wanted to do is get high.
Yeah.
And it's sad. It's a fucking disease, and now they're mixing that fentanyl with everything. And I'm so glad I got out of it before that, because I would absolutely be dead, because I didn't give a fuck what I put in my body. I just wanted to get high.
Yeah.
And if that heroin had fentanyl in it, fuck it. And I heard that's all there is now. So
Yeah.
man, I just, you know, 100,000 people died last year. That's fucking brutal, man.
Yeah.
I just want everybody to at least try to not give up on themselves and to live their best life.
Okay.
It's literally one little step at a time, baby steps. That's all we could do.
Yeah. Thank you, man. I appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
out today, dude. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to get you back here sometime again.
Thanks, Joe.
Yep. Have a good one.